A blind man fell in love with a woman just by listening to her voice on the phone, but she was hiding something from him. Thomas sat alone in his small apartment, the city lights twinkling outside his window. His blindness had always made him feel isolated, but tonight was different. Tonight he was going on a date, not just any date. Though this was his first date since he'd moved to the city and started working at the bookstore. He adjusted his collar, trying to look his best, even though his date couldn't see him. He wasn't nervous about being judged for his appearance, but he was curious about his date. How would she react when she learned he was blind? Would she be scared or turned off by it? He tried not to let it show in his voice. He didn't want to scare her away before they even met. There was a knock at the door and Thomas's heart skipped a beat. Could this be her? He slowly got up and walked to the door. His hand trembled as he reached out to open it. Maybe if he pretended he could see, she wouldn't realize he was blind. Just then, the bell rang and Thomas froze. What if she thought he was crazy? Was this a bad idea? Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. "Hi," said a woman's voice. "Are you Thomas?" Startled by her beautiful voice, Thomas could only nod. It was like hearing an angel sing. Her name was Sophia, and from the moment their eyes met, Thomas knew this was no ordinary date. "It's nice to finally meet you," Sophia said, her voice soft and melodic. Thomas felt a warmth spread through him. Her voice was like honey, and it made him feel all fuzzy inside. "You too," he managed to say, trying to sound confident. They sat down at the table and started talking. Thomas learned that Sophia worked at a flower shop. She loved gardening and her favorite flower was the sunflower. He listened intently to her, captivated not only by her voice, but also by the way she described the world around her. As the evening went on, Thomas found himself falling in love with her voice. It was like nothing he'd ever heard before. He could listen to her talk for hours. He felt a connection with her that he'd never experienced before, and it was all because of her voice. "I have something to tell you," Sophia said suddenly, breaking the silence. Thomas's heart skipped a beat. Was she going to break up with him? The thought of losing her already made him feel empty inside. "What is it?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. I need to be honest with you," Sophia replied. "There's something you should know about me." Thomas reached out and took her hand. "Tell me," he whispered. "I love you, Thomas," Sophia said, her voice shaking. He froze. Did she just confess her love for him? It was everything he'd dreamed of, yet he couldn't bring himself to speak. Tears welled up in his eyes. He wanted to say it back, to tell her how much he loved her too, but the words wouldn't come out. I love you too," he stammered. Relief washed over Sophia's face. "I thought you might feel the same way," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm so happy," but Thomas couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Why was she crying? Why did she seem so relieved? And what was she hiding from him? He wanted to ask, but the words wouldn't come out. All he could do was hold her hand and hope that she would tell him what was on her mind. Suddenly, Sophia pulled away from him and stood up. "I need to go," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry, but I can't stay here anymore." Before Thomas could say a word, she ran out the door. He sat there stunned, wondering what had happened. Why did she leave? Was it something he said? Had he done something wrong? He didn't understand. All he knew was that he missed her and wanted her back. He got up and walked to the window. He looked out into the darkness, hoping to catch a glimpse of her, but all he saw were the twinkling city lights. He felt a deep sadness wash over him. Was this the end of their relationship? Would he ever see her again? Days turned into weeks and still there was no sign of Sophia. Thomas missed her more and more each day. He would sit by the window and stare out into the distance, hoping to see her walking towards him, but she never came. He tried to move on, to find someone new, but he couldn't stop thinking about Sophia. Her voice echoed in his mind and he couldn't escape it. He knew he had to do something, to find her and ask her why she left him. One day, while walking through the park, he heard a familiar voice. It was Sophia. He stopped in his tracks and listened. As she spoke, he realized she was talking to a friend. He hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. Should he approach her and introduce himself? What if she didn't remember him? What if she didn't want to talk to him? He took a deep breath and decided to go after her. He walked towards her, his heart pounding in his chest. As he got closer, he could hear her voice better, and then he heard something that made him freeze. "My boyfriend, Thomas," Sophia was saying, "he's blind." I didn't think it would be a problem, but people stare at him and whisper. I don't want that. I want to be with someone who doesn't have to worry about other people's opinions. Thomas's heart sank. So that's why she left. She didn't want to be with a blind man. He felt a deep sadness wash over him. He had loved her with all his heart. And this was how she repaid him. He turned and walked away without her seeing him. He didn't want her to know that he had heard her words. He felt betrayed and hurt. He had never imagined that she would treat him this way. As he walked, he tried to compose himself. He couldn't let her see how much her words had affected him. He had to be strong. Just then, he heard a familiar voice call out his name. He turned and saw Sophia running towards him. "Thomas, I'm so sorry," she said, out of breath. "I didn't mean what I said. I was just frustrated. Please forgive me." She reached out to touch his arm, but he pulled away. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice shaking. I thought you didn't want to see me anymore." "I'm sorry," Sophia whispered. "I didn't know what to say. I was scared." "Scared of what?" Thomas asked. "Of losing you," she replied. "I love you, Thomas. Please believe me. Don't give up on us." He stared at her, trying to decide what to do. Should he forgive her and give her another chance, or walk away and never look back? His heart ached, but he knew he couldn't trust her. He took a deep breath and said, "I can't do this anymore, Sophia. I'm sorry, but I have to let you go." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving her standing there with tears in her eyes. Thomas knew it was the right thing to do. He couldn't stay with someone who didn't trust him. He deserved better. As the days passed, the pain in Thomas's heart began to fade. He threw himself into his work at the bookstore, surrounded by the smell of old paper and leather. He found solace in the quiet company of the books. One day, a new customer came into the store. She was beautiful, with long flowing hair and kind eyes. Her name was Emily, and she became a regular at the store. Soon, Thomas found himself falling in love with her too. He was drawn to her intelligence and wit, and he loved the way she made him laugh. They talked for hours about books and their favorite authors. And Thomas found himself opening up to her in ways he had never opened up to anyone before. One day, Emily asked Thomas out on a date. He was nervous but excited. He had never been on a date with a woman before. He didn't know what to wear or what to say, but Emily put his mind at ease. She picked him up in her car and they drove to a cozy little restaurant. The food was delicious and the conversation flowed easily between them. By the end of the date, Thomas knew he had found something special. As the weeks passed, Thomas and Emily grew closer and closer. They went on hikes, visited art galleries, and spent hours talking on the phone. He was so happy that he had found love again. And then one day, Emily proposed. She got down on one knee and asked Thomas to marry her. He was shocked but overjoyed. He had never imagined that he would be able to love again, let alone get married. The wedding was small but beautiful. Thomas's friends and family came to celebrate with him, and even Emily's mother attended. The ceremony was held in a garden, and Thomas couldn't help but smile as he looked at Emily. She was the most beautiful bride he had ever seen. After the ceremony, Thomas and Emily drove off to their honeymoon. They spent a week in a cabin in the woods, and it was the perfect getaway. They relaxed, enjoyed the scenery, and made love. When they returned home, Thomas knew that he had made the right decision by leaving Sophia. He was now married to the woman of his dreams. Years passed, and Thomas and Emily's love only grew stronger with time. They had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl, and their life was filled with joy and happiness. Looking back, Thomas realized that his blindness had been a blessing in disguise. It had led him to Emily, the love of his life. He no longer felt alone or isolated. He had a loving wife and children who needed him, and he knew that no matter what, he would never give up on them.